guys, Robbie46 here and welcome yourselves to the race results and analysis for yesterday's finale of MotoGP 2015 at Valencia. As we all know, with all the stuff that happened in Sepang, Rossi had to start from the back of the grid, but it was Jorge Lorenzo who set a blistering time in qualifying and set a new pole record, so he was on pole. We had Marquez in second. But at the start of the race, it was a bit of a nightmare for Crutchlow, as on the grid his team had his fairing off the bike trying to sort something out. Unfortunately his bike had to get wheeled off the grid, which meant that when they all started the sighting lap, Crutchlow did manage to get out of the pit, but he had to start from last place, so that was one less place that Rossi had to make up. But anyway, off the line, Lorenzo got a good start, straight into the lead as always, and trying to do what he does always, just go from the word go. Valentino Rossi got an amazing start, made up about 6-7 places off the line, and just continued making up places lap by lap. Marquez went with Lorenzo, as did Danny Pedrosa and Andrea Iannone, but a couple of laps in, unfortunately Iannone had a crash. Obviously not the way he wanted to end his really good season, but you can be sure he'll be back strong next year. Back down the field, Rossi was still making up places left, right and centre. Crutchlow was as well, but then had to go into the pit to get something sorted out, and then came back out and still managed to make up quite a few places. Lorenzo and Marquez were both pulling away from Danny Pedrosa. You had Alicia Spargaro, who was in fourth. He was battling with Pole and Bradley Smith. Like I said, Rossi was making his way through the field. He'd managed to get up to about 10th by lap 3 or 4, and it was looking good. But obviously, the higher he's getting in the classifications, the harder it was going to get, because obviously the bikes were going from the open bikes, which were easier to overtake, to the satellite and factory bikes, which are going to be harder. Even down the straight, it looked like Rossi was struggling to stay with the Aprilia, which was a bit weird, but that could just be down to the exit of the last corner that Rossi was getting. Maybe he wasn't getting the best drive out the last corner. But yeah, he was carrying on going and going, got past Pirro, then Petrucci, and then got up to the group of Dovizioso, the Espargaro brothers, got past Bradley Smith, and then eventually he got up to 4th place from the back of the grid, which is a pretty darn good achievement in itself. He did say in an interview before the race that the first 3 places were pretty much impossible, and it did seem it, because by the time he got to 4th place there was like a 15-second gap up to Pedrosa. But this time Pedrosa had dropped back from Marquez and Lorenzo by about 2.5 seconds. Marquez was staying with Lorenzo, and towards the end of the race he was all over the back of Lorenzo, but yeah, he never made an attempt to overtake, which is a bit strange, because coming out of the right-hander, getting ready to go into the left-hand hairpin before the back straight, Marquez could have, what looked like, made a block pass quite easily. He was getting much better drive out of the right-hand corner, but it never happened, and like I said, Rossi was in 4th place, pulling away from Dovizioso, and Dovizioso started dropping back into the clutches of the Tech 3 Yamaha boys and Alicia Spargaro. Crutchlow, meanwhile, was still making his way through the field. He managed to get up to 14th by this point, so he was in the points, even though he had to go back into the pits anyway. But Brock Parks, he retired with 9 laps to go, as did Eugene Laverty, and with 7 laps to go, Mike DiMeglio as well with 6 laps to go. Those were the 4 non-finishers, with Iannone crashing early on. Then Pedrosa started doing what he'd done in the previous few races. With a few laps to go, about 5 laps to go, he started going quicker than both Lorenzo and Marquez, and quite considerably. There's a couple attempts per sector, and with 2 laps to go, he was on the back of Marquez, and Marquez was right on the back of Lorenzo. By this point, Marquez still hadn't attempted an overtake on Lorenzo, and it was looking like he was going to, but he didn't. And it was a bit weird, because as soon as Pedrosa overtook Marquez, Marquez decided to revert back to his aggressive self and retake the place, and that opened a tiny gap up to Lorenzo for the final lap, but Marquez soon closed it down, as did Pedrosa. But again, Marquez never even attempted to make a move, and yeah, it ended up with Jorge winning the race. Done a really good job, didn't put a wheel wrong, and yeah, he obviously won the race. Marquez came home in 2nd and Pedrosa in 3rd, and Valentino Rossi, a heroic effort, came home in 4th, which unfortunately meant for obviously for Rossi fans that Lorenzo won the title by 5 points. Paul Espargaro was 5th, just beating Bradley Smith in 6th. Andrea Dovizioso was 7th. Alicia Spargaro 8th. Crutchlow got up to 9th and finished 9th, so pretty good result for him. 10th place was Danilo Petrucci. 11th was Vinales. 12th was Michele Pirro, Ducati's test rider, wildcarding. 13th, Yoni Hernandez. 14th, Alvaro Bautista. And the last point scorer in 15th was Scott Redding. And then Hector Barber in 16th, he won the Open Class Cup. Nicky Hayden, his last ever race in the MotoGP paddock, was 17th. Stefan Bradl 18th, Loris Baz 19th, Tony Elias 20th, Jack Miller 21st, and Anthony West in 22nd place. Alex DeAngelis was there. He wasn't riding, but he was in the paddock, so it was great to see that he's on the road to recovery. But yeah, a bit of a mixed race, really. Obviously, Lorenzo he deserved the win. He didn't put a wheel on, like I said, but Marquez could have gone for an overtake, but in a way, it looked like he was just protecting Lorenzo. I know there's quite a few people with this theory as well, even some riders, and I know that Hodson thought that he was protecting Lorenzo as well, because as we all know, Marquez is a really aggressive rider, and he didn't put any moves on Lorenzo, but the only aggressive move he put on was his teammate when Pedrosa came past, and I'm pretty sure Pedrosa could have won that race. He was, like I said, he was going considerably quicker than both Lorenzo and Marquez by the end, but his little scrap with Marquez lost him a bit too much time that he couldn't recover from. And yeah, so I mean, obviously if Pedrosa had won, Marquez, I still don't know if he would have overtaken Lorenzo. I mean, that would have put Rossi and Lorenzo joint on points, which Lorenzo would still take the title because he's won more races. But yeah, it's it didn't have a very good atmosphere when the race had finished, and yeah, that's unfortunately the way it is. Lorenzo, I mean, both Yamaha riders rode exceptionally well all season, so you know they both deserved the title. But at the end of the day, Lorenzo was the one with the most points, and he takes it. So we'll have to wait and see what happens next season. I know that Marquez and Rossi, it ain't over. It's going to go into next season, and I I don't think Rossi is going to make Marquez very happy next year. I think Rossi is going to do everything he can to stop Marquez winning the title next year, which yeah, it's yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But as I said, it was like Marquez was helping Lorenzo as he has been for the previous couple of races, and obviously he's going to deny it because he didn't want to get in trouble. But maybe Honda are looking to the future and looking to get in Lorenzo in their camp, and maybe it's something that I don't know. Maybe it's because they're the same nationality and Dorna being Spanish. I don't know. I don't really want to get into the conspiracy theories, but it's what happened. Marquez has lost a lot of popularity towards the end of this season, as has Lorenzo and Rossi as well. But yeah, I have to wait and see what happens next year. Because let's face it, if it was Rossi in the lead or Pedrosa in the lead, you know that Marquez would have had a go. But for some reason, because it's Lorenzo, he didn't want to know. But yeah, anyway guys, that's pretty much it from me. Just to let you guys know that I will be doing a top 10 rides and moments from the 2015 season that I'll have coming out at some point in the next week. So keep an eye out for that. And all I can say is thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave this video a like, subscribe to my channel for more content. I shall see you guys in the next video. See you.